Hello there, YouTube. It's your boy B3. Back to another kicking movie reaction review. We're getting close to... My gloves are farting. I'm wearing gloves because I was filming Safari Sam, and I'm going to film another one after this. Why change gloves? Especially when they're too small. But today we are reviewing The Monolith Monsters from 1957. It is a sci-fi horror film. You could probably also call it a disaster film. And I think they should have leaned more into that. I might talk about that more in a bit. It's an hour, 17 minutes, 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb, 71% on Just Watch, 4.9 out of 5 on Shout Factory. But this is the type of stuff Shout Factory really loves. 93% of Google users liked the film. Anyways, let's adjust this a bit. There we go. A geologist and a school teacher evacuate a desert town attacked by thirsty giant crystals. It came out in the December of 1957 in the United States, directed by John Sherwood. The music is by Henry Mancini, Irving Getz, and Herman Stein, who were uncredited, which makes me feel like it was probably stock music. And when I was watching it, I was like, I feel like I've heard this music before. So it probably was stock music. Anyways, the story is by Jack Arnold and Robert M. Fresco. Lola Albright plays Kathy Barrett. Les Tremayne played Martin Cochran. Grant Williams played Dave Miller. Trevor Bardet played Professor Arthur. Phil Harvey played Ben Gilbert. William Chalaret played a meteorologist, who I got big Stephen Colbert vibes from for some reason. And William Flattery played the police chief. Yeah. A lot of fun stuff there. It's a very enjoyable film. So this meteor hits Earth, and the meteor, just since it's from space, no one really knows why it works or anything, but when it gets wet, the rocks grow. They kind of grow up straight into spires. Eventually, they get too heavy, they collapse, and they just destroy everything around them. It's a bad time. They don't have any malicious intent. It's just how these rocks work, and they shouldn't work that way. So there's something about cosmic rays, blah, blah, blah. It's probably a metaphor for communism because it's growing incredibly quickly, and they can't stop it. And oh, it's going to get us if we don't stop this thing that's growing. Very odd. And so they'll like go to a home or something in the film that the rocks have destroyed, and they'll find the rocks all around, and they're like, where'd all these rocks come from? And there are shots of the completely still, not growing rocks. And in those shots, there's music playing as if a monster is coming straight at you. And it's so weird, because there's this music that's like, if you closed your eyes and listened to it, you would put it on like a scene of a werewolf chasing someone through the forest, or a sea monster coming up and grabbing someone out of a boat, or something. But the image that goes with this music is just shots of rocks sitting still, and it's the least menacing thing in the world, but they're playing the most menacing music for it, and every time it made me laugh. I thought that was so funny and stupid. I really did, and the characters were relatively bland. Even though the performances I thought were fine, especially for the time. And I love the ending because it's like raining, and then like everything in the monoliths are growing. And the monoliths growing were really good effects, actually. I want to give props for the special effects on this. The miniature sets looked great. The rocks growing looked great. It looked great. Those effects in a movie today, I think, would be good still. They're still good effects, I think. Good practicals. I mean, if this was remade today, it'd be hyper CGI, and which might actually make this more exciting, because it wasn't... It's a good premise for a disaster movie, but they kind of tried to make it a horror film, and I don't know if the disaster movie genre even existed yet. I'm guessing no. I don't know. I don't really like disaster movies unless they're... Kaiju movies are the only disaster movies I like. Let's face it, kaiju movies are disaster films. I'm not a big disaster film guy, so I don't know the history of disaster films. But I do know that I I kind of enjoyed this film, not as much as I enjoyed like Tarantula, the Mole People, The Incredible Shrinking Man, or Monster on the Campus, which we'll get to. All of which I enjoyed everything on here, but I really loved Tarantula. I hyper loved Incredible Shrinking Man. I thought The Mole People was good. Monolith Monsters was fun, and Monster on Campus I thought was a really cool concept as well. Simple but cool. I think the Monolith Monsters is my least favorite on this set, but I still like it. I really like this set as a whole. It's a very cheap, affordable set on Amazon. I looked, and I don't know where you can stream the Monolith Monsters. It might be on Shout Factory or Tubi or something, but I didn't see it on a list of streaming sites that you could see it on. Because normally I have a list for those things, and I checked the list and it wasn't there. But it might be somewhere. I'm sure it is. It could be on Prime Video or something, I don't know, but I got it in this set. But I really liked those special effects. And the end of the film, this is a big spoiler, like they're coming down this canyon, and it turns out that salt neutralizes them. Once they're exposed to like salt and stuff, there's nothing to worry about. It neutralizes the rocks. So they like blow up this dam, and they have like salt water rush across the rocks, so they stop growing and they don't make it to the town. And it's like this big celebratory happy ending. And I'm kind of over here like, okay, that stopped this batch of rocks. But they act like it solves the problem as a whole, and it doesn't, because all the rocks behind those are still active rocks that can still grow to crush the town. If these things aren't stopped, they could easily grow across the entire continent. They couldn't grow across the entire world, because as stated, salt neutralizes them. So as soon as they hit the ocean, they'd be neutralized. Because at the beginning of this film, it hits the ground, and it's very clear that water makes them grow. But, like, the rocks that were left at the house of the family that was killed, and the whole time they're trying to rush to save the little girl, because this is a film from the 50s. And they're not really going to kill a kid in a film from the 50s, for the most part. Now, let's go back to the 30s and 40s. They'll kill a kid. Frankenstein killed a kid. Bride of Frankenstein killed a kid. They talked about children being attacked in Dracula and stuff. Like, kids will get killed in those old Universal movies. And I do believe this is a Universal movie. But yeah, the 50s, you know, the 50s liked to pretend to be an ethical time, even though it wasn't. Let's not get into that. But yeah, so all those rocks can still grow, so I don't know why we're acting like the problem is solved at the end of the film, because there's still tons and tons and tons, literal tons of these rocks that can still continue to grow and destroy and kill. See, at the beginning of the film, they actually make it very obvious that it's water that makes the rocks grow. And I think that should have been kept secret, because they spend a lot of the time of the movie trying to figure it out. Like, the characters are trying to figure out what sets the rocks off, what makes them grow. But you know pretty much immediately, because you see a radiator from a car, like, drip onto a rock and it starts growing. You know, as an audience member, basically immediately what makes it grow. But they don't, so you're just kind of waiting for them to figure it out. It should have been hidden from the audience, and when the scientists found out, the audience found out. Yeah, you could hint at it. Like, you could show the girl, because in the sequence, when the girl, she washes the rock, and then leaves it in the water, and we see it start to, like, bubble and grow in the water. What they should have done was just, like, show her washing it, and then maybe carry it inside. Yes, I know the mother said not to bring it inside, but you could just not have the mother say that. And then she washes it, takes it inside when it's dinner time, and then next thing you know, their house is destroyed. And so it just play it up like it's something normal and doesn't matter. And then later you can be like, oh, her washing the rock is what made it grow. But you don't know that when it happens and stuff. I think that should have been hidden from the audience. Would have given the film a lot more suspense instead of just waiting on the characters to figure it out, which was boring. I really do. I think this would have a good remake as a disaster film, but eh. I think they could have done better on it. This could have been better if it was just played up in a different way. So, that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. I will be probably doing some films between this and Monster on Campus just to kind of break up the set a little bit. So until then, I'll see you next time.